Hello, it's Mr. Wyman here, and I'm excited to read this article about one of my favorite books, uh, Last Stop on Market Street. And what's interesting about this particular article is it's a review. This was written way back when the book Last Stop on Market Street was being considered for the Caldecott Award. As it turns out, it became an honor, like an honorary consideration. It didn't win the Caldecott the year it was considered, but it did end up winning the Newbery Award, which was incredible, very prestigious honor. So the Caldecott is specifically about illustrations, and we're going to read this little review together and consider what this author, Martha Parabana, thinks could help the book win, or what maybe could cause the book to come up short. It starts off here, and we're off with the first book discussion of the season. We are trying to present the books more generally in order of publication this year in hopes that readers will have a better chance of knowing the books as they're discussed. We're starting with a book that was published early in the year, in fact in January, to much excitement and praise. What's this first paragraph all about? It introduces what this article is for, which is presenting the books, talking about the books, and as it turns out, it's not only going to be about Last Stop on Market Street. This is what's called a blog, and this particular article is only about this book, but the author is getting you ready to read several articles, this only being the first. Last Stop on Market Street is a lovely, warm picture book with strong and commendable themes of intergenerational friendship, building community, and finding beauty in unlikely places. Intergenerational means between the generations, connections between older people and younger people. Remember, we had little CJ accompanied by Nana, his grandmother, and then there are all different age people on the bus. And other messages as well. The value of helping the less fortunate, how to grow up to be a good person as guided by your Nana. And Matt De La Pena's text is both sensory and colloquial. Sensory meaning connects to your senses, and colloquial meaning familiar and everyday speech. With believable sounding dialogue, the speaking between Nana and CJ, and an equally believable relationship between grandmother and grandson. So it's a very real sounding book, something we can connect to. But we're here to talk about Christian Robinson's art. The Hornbook magazine review, that's what this is, basically said that the book was channeling Ezra Jack Keats. And that's the author that we just recently read about, who illustrated and wrote The Snowy Day. In spirit and visual style. Remember, The Snowy Day was also a collage, and that's what this book was. I even noticed that and commented on it when I did the read aloud with you. And I think that pretty much captures its feel and appeal. The acrylic paintings and collage are artful, simple, and like Peter in The Snowy Day, CJ is an every child, and a brown every child. The colors sing with eye-catching blocks of color throughout, all in perfect accord with one another. One of my favorite double-page spreads shows Nana and CJ walking to the bus shelter in the rain, Nana holding her orange umbrella aloft, and CJ in his highly individual yellow shirt with blue and orange stripes on the sleeves, closer to the puddled street, which reflects those oranges and yellows beautifully. In that same spread, note the way the tree behind them is composed of a collaged white trunk and painted green leaves, giving the tree remarkable texture and beauty. On another spread, rectangles rule. The dark blue bus stop contrasts with the white sidewalk and bus, which contrasts with the green car, etc. It's such a simple composition, but with its shapes and colors so artfully arranged. One of the reasons I wanted to read this text to you is because its use of the word contrast, because we've been talking a lot and using the terms compare and contrast all year. To contrast means to point out the differences, to show how the white tree kind of stands out amongst the rest of the things because it's so different, which is a good thing and an artful thing. I think few would argue that the most sublime spread is the one in which the guitar music CJ hears on the bus lifts him out of the mundane reality of the busy street and into a world of nature where butterflies dance free and waves crash against the sunset sky. Robinson does a remarkable job of not translating the text literally, but completely capturing the feeling of magic CJ experiences, all with minimal colors, simple shapes, the trademark yellow sweater, and CJ's profile front and center. Eyes closed in concentration and delight. I do have a few quibbles. Some might be silly, but may also be details a child or the Caldecott Committee might notice. Quibbles would mean like little things that this author sees could potentially be a problem or that they disagree with. Little, like tiny arguments. Where does Nana's knitting come from? She is shown throughout carrying the tiniest purses. Why is she sitting in the handicap seat on the bus? That does not seem like something thoughtful Nana would ever do. Why does the blind man on the bus carry a cane and have a guide dog? This was interesting. I thought this too. I have some knowledge of the blind community, and I have never witnessed someone using both. It would be a very cumbersome arrangement. Cumbersome meaning like tricky or like something that you might trip over or have to wrestle with. Also, the dog on this bus wanders freely around the bus. Again, not something an actual guide dog would ever do. It's clearly meant to be a guide dog, not just a pal, because the dog is shown with a harness attached. And just in terms of continuity, I think it might disappoint some child readers, that once Nana and CJ get off the bus, so little relationship between the people they see on the street and the people in the soup kitchen. We recognize Bobo, the sunglass man, and Trixie, although it's sure a long time from the page Nana mentions them to the page we finally see them, without any kind of refresher or reminder in the text. But why aren't the people queuing up outside shown inside the soup kitchen on the last spread? It's not like there's a long line inside that's preventing them from going in. It would have been satisfying and given the book some additional closure to see them inside, seated at a table or being served food. This is one of the reasons I really like reading this kind of article, because I never would have even noticed that. I mean, I maybe looking at the book over and over and over and over again, I might, but it's good to read what professionals, people who are paid in order to closely look at things and recognize these kinds of things, have to say about them. It's really interesting because it points out stuff that now, looking back, it's like, oh, that's interesting. It may bear repeating for newcomers and old hands alike that looking at a picture book for your own pleasure or a child's is very different from scrutinizing it the way the Caldecott Committee does. Scrutinizing is a great vocabulary word, and it's what this article is doing, looking at every little detail and talking about things it agrees with, things it doesn't agree with, comparing and contrasting. Scrutinizing might be synonymous with analyzing, right? I didn't notice any of my quibbles until I looked at the book as carefully and critically. And that's what scrutinizing is, looking at something carefully and critically looking for the difficulties, the differences, the problems with the text, as a committee member would. Remember how John Clayson humorously characterized the committee in his 2013 Caldecott acceptance speech. They are a group of beings assembled entirely to notice things. Of course, just because someone sees flaws in a book does not necessarily knock it off the Caldecott table. The committee may take note of flaws and still decide that a book's strengths are enough to disregard any minor problems. So what are your thoughts? Last Stop on Market Street received 3-star reviews and a ton of early buzz. Is it holding up to its promise? Do weigh in below. And I would love to hear from you, having listened to me read this article. What do you think? Do you agree with the author of this article? Do you think that Last Stop on Market Street was superb and that it should have won the Caldecott Award and not just been an honor? In order to make that decision, we'd have to look at the actual winner of that year and do a compare and contrast between the two. But I definitely like and appreciate the information that this author, this blog, presents concerning this book. It was very interesting to read, and I hope you got a lot out of it.